Greetings Exiles, I'm Card Raziel, and today I'm bringing you my final thoughts on playing a Herald of Agony Champion, as well as an in-depth gear review. Since I spent so much time in this character, I'll also be spending a little bit more time on the video. During the course of the first month of synthesis, I started with this Herald of Agony Champion, and at around level 90 I finally got tired of not being able to do Nexus bosses because my boss was locked. And I then created a Righteous Fire Trickster, which was pretty awesome, and I'll likely continue it in due time. However, I found myself coming back to this character quite often and eventually got into about 93. At which point I felt like playing totems for a little bit, so I recreated my Mind Over Matter Hierophant just to see how it holds up, and it was pretty damn awesome. But again, I found myself returning to the Herald of Agony Champion, this time leveling it to 96. Because I just couldn't shake my enjoyment of this sort of target painter playstyle. So with all that said, I'd like to go over my setup I landed on after much fiddling, starting with my choice of weapon. I considered going for a +4 bow or a +3 vicious projectiles bow, but decided instead to focus purely on quality of life this time around. At this time I'd already killed the Uber Elder and didn't really feel the need for more damage. So I basically synthesized this bow after learning about the insane life on hit mod, which required 3 item level 40 life gained on hit rolls, so it seemed pretty easy to acquire. It took me about an hour to get all the gear together, and following that I had a research safe house with Tiny's trial, which was Exalt Annul crafting, so I basically just made an empty rare and then crafted multi-mod on it. From there I went full quality of life, starting with trigger a socketed spell when you use a skill and filling it out with the rest of the mods. Minion attack speed was chosen over regular attack speed since it boosts both me and the Agony Crawler. Blind on hit seemed like an obvious next choice, followed by minion damage. The last prefix is still blank because I can't really risk getting cold or lightning damage. There are really no prefixes that would do very much for me. Socketed in the bow I have Cold Snap and Projectile Weakness linked with Spell Cascade, as well as Molten Shell, Spirit Offering and Desecrate, which all trigger one at a time in sequence when I barrage, leading to all my utility skills staying up and refreshed whenever I'm in combat. Next we come to the quiver. I noticed the essence used to craft accuracy on quivers was extremely cheap, so I figured I'd remove Pierce from my barrage and craft my quiver. I grabbed some 3 modded quivers with life and 2 identical other mods and used the essences to craft the requisite amount of accuracy. Next thing I knew I ended up with a really insane life and 3 Pierce implicit quiver, which I quickly crafted with some bound fossils to get some minion speed. For my helm I got a light poacher because it was the cheapest with the Agony Crawler fires 2 additional projectiles mod, and 2 sockets for Ghastly Eye Jewels with life and minion attack speed didn't seem that bad. Socketed in the skill gem slots are Blink Arrow and faster attacks, which can get me out of a sticky situation really quickly, as well as crossover memory decay and general gaps. My chest was one of the first things I synthesized, using 3 chests with 2 fractured mods, scouring off all the extra mods and crafting the Fortify effect while focused craft on all 3. Ending up with a pretty nice Assassin's Garb, which could probably be better, but hey, it's cool. 15% increased effect of Fortify grants us 3% damage reduction, which goes a long way once you reach the amount of damage reduction that's possible while focused on this character. Socketed in there I have Herald of Agony, linked with damage on full life, since our crawler is always at full life, minion damage because almost any minion gains a huge amount of damage from it, physical to lightning because I was using EE with fire damage, hypothermia or pierce depending on whether I'm doing endgame bosses or not, and finally Vile Toxins because it's pretty easy to get 10 poison stacks on a target and it's cheaper than a level 4 in power. My gloves are a pair of Elder gloves with poison and faster attacks to support my barrage, as well as some life. I also crafted attack and cast speed while focused so I could speed up my virulence stacks at the beginning of fights. Socketed in here I have my level 1 barrage for the lower mana cost, life gain on hit, Withering Touch for that tiny bit more damage, and Blood Magic for a huge quality of life boost of not having to worry about mana sustain. For my boots, I alt-regaled some Shaper boots to get some life and movement speed as well as some cooldown recovery so that I could focus more often, as well as allow my automated skills to trigger more often. I then crafted ailment immunity while focused so I didn't have to rely on flasks, and I could also make sure that while I had that huge fortify boost that I wasn't shocked nullifying the boost. Socketed in here I have Hatred linked to Generosity for extra effect and also so that it doesn't affect our elemental equilibrium, and Enlighten so that we have a little bit of spare mana to blink arrow or cast Convocation, as well as socketing our Convocation, which is extremely important on Herald of Agony because anything with a proximity shield can be a huge pain otherwise. The amulet is the least remarkable, and I may come back and fiddle with an upgrade at some point. It basically adds life and fills out our resists as well as reducing mana costs because I had no better crafting option. My first ring was crafted using some bound fossils until I saw a life roll to give a little extra speed to our agony crawler. My more expensive ring is a synthesized ring which was made from 3 very high strength rings with the second fractured property being fire res, granting us Intimidate on hit, as well as a fairly substantial amount of flat reduced fire damage taken. I also crafted using bound fossils, but stopped on this one due to all the life and resists. I then crafted Shock nearby enemies for 4 seconds when you focus for that extra damage burst when I focus. This is far more convenient than using a Val lightning trap. Lastly, my belt is just life and cooldown recovery speed to further improve our uptime on focus, make our bow skills trigger even more often, and allow us to convocate even more. I also crafted some cold res on there. For my flasks, I'm using a Seething Divine Life Flask of Staunching. You could also use the Blood of the Karoo or Forbidden Taste, but I haven't really felt the need to upgrade yet. Next, I'm using the Wise Oak purely defensively, as I have balanced my resistance fairly easily with Blessed Orbs and recrafting of resist crafts on certain items. The reason I'm doing this is because all my Fortify effect makes reduced damage taken from things like the Wise Oak extremely potent. I'm then using a Quicksilver of Adrenaline to run fast, a Quartz Flask to dodge more often, and a Stibnite to make sure enemies are blinded immediately at the start of a fight. Now for my Ascendancy. I am a champion with Conqueror to boost our damage reduction as well as life regen when we hit an enemy, and Worthy Foe, which gives our Agony Crawler a huge damage boost by making it so that its hits can't be evaded and also making the enemies take 20% increased damage. I then went down the Fortify path, which gives permanent Fortify along with some extra defenses and stun immunity. The rest of my passive tree focuses on picking up life, defenses, minion attack speed, and a decent amount of dual sockets. Our keystones include Acrobatics and Phase Acrobatics to add an extra defensive layer, as well as Elemental Equilibrium to boost the crawler's cold and lightning damage by reducing enemy resists when I hit them with flat fire damage. I used a single unique volley fire jewel just to have a little bit of spread on my barrage, and all my other jewels focus on life and minion attack speed, as well as a few rounding resists and attributes just to get it all rounded out. The full passive tree will be available in the path of building in the description. In terms of the build, I absolutely love to play it, especially in this high quality of life variant. It was able to do just about anything I threw at it, and that's just the way I like my builds. And the build doesn't clear quite as fast as some others like Tornado Shot or even as fast as Arc Totem Hierophants, but the clear speed was decent enough, especially considering every map mod was comfortably doable, with only the slight issue being that no regen meant I couldn't blink arrow or convocate, but this wasn't that much of an issue during my time mapping. As far as whether or not I think this skill is balanced, I actually do. I know it seems extremely powerful for minimal investment, and it is, but the lower your investment, the worse the clearing is going to be and the less quality of life you're going to have. Your damage boosts also come in large amounts rather than smaller min-maxi amounts, which I find is much more motivating, and paired with the quality of life of this build is probably the number one contributing factor to why I kept playing this build for so long. That being said, do you think Herald of Agony needs a nerf? Let me know in the comments. As for the Synthesis League itself, I absolutely love the memory nexus mechanics, and finding these hidden gems in synthesized items was extremely fun and rewarding. While trading for fractured items seems like a pain, the reward is pretty amazing, and I feel like there would be much less issues with trading if more people were interested in the league as a whole. It is worth noting that the amount of stash tabs used by fractured items is a little extreme though. Being that I have been part of the PoE community since closed beta, this wasn't an issue for me, and it's also not that bad once you realize what's worth keeping and what isn't. Next up, I'm working on an Ice Golem Elementalist, as I felt doing the fast clearing lazy build might be a fun little next step. And I would also like to revisit the Righteous Fire Trickster and the Hierophant at some point, as both were pretty awesome. I'm going to end the video with a full Uber Elder fight, which was not so deathless, and also a level 83 Mastermind, which was also not so deathless. And I'd like to thank you all for watching. If you liked the video, then hit that like button. If you'd like to see more content like this, then do hit that subscribe button. And also let me know in the comments what you think of Herald of Agony, and also of me playing a character for as long as I have played this one. Anyway, thanks for watching, good luck, and stay juicy.